Okay, so this is specifically designed to address metaphysical idealism. So Bernardo Kastrup is making the rounds. Seems like every few days he's being interviewed by someone, and he's going on for many, many hours now. Many hours of interviews and discussions, and there's no concrete answer. There's no concluding answer to the big questions, and I know why. So, what's really important about understanding is that when you're reading something, you have to be cognizant of what's going on inside you. So, academics especially are very prone, they're basically addicted to thinking. And as my theory of enlightenment points out, thought, the voice in your head, which is thought, is there fundamentally as a relative form of existence. I think, therefore I am. You know that you exist relative to the voice in your head. That is affirming your existence because there's something there relative to you. And this is the primary function of thought and systems of thought, which is all academia is. Academia is all systems of thought. So, as hard as this is to accept, systems of thought are mechanisms through which thought is created. That's all. It's not leading anywhere. It's not revealing some sort of truth about the physical realm, about reality. It's these systems of thought are mechanisms that produce thought. That's it. It's like a virus just churning out more thought. So the problem with academics is that they don't really realize this, and they don't, no matter how they come across and the words that they're using, they actually don't want conclusion to the thought process that they're involved in. So whether you're a philosopher, a mathematician, a physicist, your ego doesn't want a conclusion to all the blah 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 that's going on in your head. So watch this process. As you're watching this within you, you'll find a strong urge to either refute it all or try to ignore it. So it's just like reading a novel and you're sure that you read this last paragraph, but when you get to the end of the paragraph, you can't recall what it meant, right? So this is what's going to happen to the vast majority of people that watch this. Though it'll just be information that is not understood. You're not actually trying to understand it. You're just trying to just ignore it. All right. So I've wrote this out, and then I'm going to elaborate on it as I go. So if metaphysical idealism is basically the idea that the world of experience is fundamentally mind rather than physical, then this brings up the question, the mind of who or what? The fundamental question, how does something come from nothing, isn't resolved by replacing the word nothing with the word mind. It still turtles all the way. It's just mind instead of physical. While mind can be said to be non-thing, it has a word name, and we feel as though we experience a phenomena, mind. So it most certainly isn't nothing. At this point, I will use the coined word non-thing. To accommodate mind within the thing-nothing model that the English language presents as the fundamental model of reality. So, the language that is hardwired, materialism is hardwired into the English language. There's no alternative to the thing-nothing model, right? It's a strictly dualistic model that doesn't allow for anything outside, anything that isn't a thing to exist, right? If it's not a thing, it just goes straight into the non-existence category. It is vital to recognize the way in which materialism is ingrained, hardwired within language. The four words, anything, something, everything, and nothing, supposedly describe / express all of experience. And the root word is thing. The definition of thing is a physical object. Thing is so fundamental, according to this model, that if a phenomenon isn't measurable, isn't a measurable physical object, it goes straight into the nothing set / category, which means that it simply doesn't exist. Materialists believe so strongly that the realm of thing is the only realm of experience that their model doesn't even allow for the potential of non-physical phenomena. The materialist cannot allow him, herself to accept the existence of any phenomena that isn't physical. Indeed, the entire concept is incomprehensible because of the language. If mind is not physical, then it simply cannot exist because there is no room for it in the thing-nothing model. If we adhere to the language provided, mind must be placed in the set / category of nothing. There is a word mind, but it doesn't fit within the English language. It doesn't fit in the thing-nothing model. The fundamental model of reality has the one that I made. The fundamental model of reality has adapted the English language to accommodate mind. This is accomplished through the above coined word non-thing. It's mind is not physical, and yet it exists. So we need to adapt the model to include phenomena, the voice in your head, that isn't physical, but it exists. It is vital to recognize that the thing-nothing model is A, dualistic, and B, adversarial. The thing-nothing model is dualistic in that there are two words describing different phenomena. It is adversarial in that nothing requires the non-existence of thing, of the other half of the duality. It's already getting convoluted, right? Nothing is not the opposite of thing. It is the non-existence of thing. However, as the dualistic language is incapable of recognizing a phenomena that is not thing as existing, it cannot provide it with its own word/name. This adversarial model I have called the other than model. It doesn't work. It lacks the robustness and nuance required to describe reality. Indeed, it is the dualistic other than model that invariably develops into infinite regression or infinite expansion. Turtles all the way. All models that use a dualistic model to express reality are using one of the constituents of the model as the base or the source of the model. In a dualistic model, there are two and only two fundamental phenomena, such as thing, nothing, body, mind, particle, wave function, yang, yin. But this leaves the question, what then is that? Everything wants to collapse back into unity, so it needs to have its own word. The yin yang, what's the word for that? It's the Tao. The Tao is yin yang, and the Tao cannot be named beyond the yin yang. If you understand this triune system that I'm getting to, you understand all, right? So it needs a word. The body mind is same as yang yin, but there's no Tao to the body mind. Well, there is. It's called spirit, right? Mind, body, spirit. Science has plucked out the word spirit very conveniently to try to make it fit with materialism. But we have to put the spirit back in to the body-mind dualistic model. The inquiry cannot stop at a dualistic model because if there is a singular fundamental constituent of reality, then we must be able to name it, to assign a word to it. The very goal of physics is to discover the fundamental constituent of reality, and this substance is intuitively understood to be singular. So this is why, with just using this model, this dualistic model, is incomplete. So why doesn't the singular word thing fulfill this goal? Why can't we just use the word thing? Why is it necessary for the word nothing to exist? And why is it dependent upon not the thing, but the lack of the thing? Nothing, this is important. The subtleties and nuances of this are very important. Nothing requires the arising and passing of thing, for the state prior to thing cannot be nothing, in that there cannot be knowledge of thing prior to its existence. We just overlook the subtleties of the semantics of this. But no thing requires the entire arising and passing of thing in order for nothing to exist. Nothing cannot exist prior to thing arising. Nothing is not prior to thing. Nothing can only be post thing, as it is not just the opposite of thing, but the annihilation of thing. You see? None of this makes any sense. And this is why every single model is doomed. They don't even recognize it. Every single model, idealism, materialism, they're all, if the language is not adapted and changed, then every single model that is using, even subconsciously, the current model is going to be wrong. All of it. Even what Donald Hoffman is doing. It's going to be wrong. It's going to be just turtles all the way. It doesn't matter how deep you get to it, it will be wrong because you're using an incorrect model that's ingrained in our very psyche. The inherent problems with the thing-nothing model also manifest as the following paradoxes. A, how does something come from nothing? How can non-existence exist? A fundamental model of reality cannot be accepted as correct while it expresses these paradoxes. They cannot be swept under the rug and ignored. Neither can the lack of semantic congruency, the not making sense, of the thing-nothing system. None of this aligns, but we have shrugged our shoulders and accepted this model to be the most accurate and comprehensive possible. The dualistic other of model is obviously incorrect. It lacks the robustness and nuance required to express the functioning of reality. The fundamental model of reality, mine, expresses an other of system that operates in unity in parallel as superposition. The state of superposition is the reality, and the way in which it is described, expressed, is through the appearances of the duality. The fundamental model of reality introduces an opposite to thing and establishes a word for the state of nothing. The opposite of thing is a non-thing. It's not nothing. The opposite of thing is a non-thing. The opposite of thing is not the lack of thing, as the word nothing expresses. The fundamental model of reality uses the word mind to represent this opposite, the non-thing, which is the opposite of thing. As nothing is no longer required to represent phenomena that are not physical, the model replaces the word nothing with the word potential. Okay, so nothing is now potential. All right. So this is a way in which to really understand what I'm getting at. So curve is the word that represents the state of superposition. Superposition is the state of other of. This state is expressed as a triune system, as a trinity. Concave and convex are unified in and as curve. It is not possible to draw a curve that is convex only. Right? So I labeled this is yellow and this is blue because together the yellow and the blue emerge from the green. And concave and convex emerge from the reality that is curve and that's singular. But the way in which it is described, if you're going to make a distinction, a straight line, you can't really make a distinction unless it's the ends, right? The poles. But this way you can make a distinction about the curve, but it necessarily, one always gives rise to the other. All right, so the definition of concave is having an outline or surface that curves inward like the interior of a circle or a sphere. And the definition of convex is having an outline or surface that curves outward, like the exterior of a circle or a sphere. So in these definitions, concave and convex are not relating to each other at all, are they? They're not even mentioned. The concave is not relative to the convex, and the convex is not relative to the concave. They're not causal in any way, are they? They're both deriving their existence directly from the source, which is curve and which is singular. Okay, the state of superposition is the reality. Okay, now, if the state of curve adhered to the thing-nothing system, the definition of convex would be having an outline or surface that curves outward like the exterior of a circle or sphere. And the definition of concave would be the absence of convex. It would be no convex. You see what I mean? If the fundamental model of reality presented by the English language isn't even robust enough to describe the state of curve, then it certainly isn't robust enough, comprehensive enough to explain all of reality. Right? So let's keep this simple. I know that academics will keep looking for more and more complexity because that's the thought process going on. Like I said to begin with, that's what gets this thought process going, is more complexity. You actually don't want to ever stop thinking because you know you exist while you're thinking. So you have to actually want to find conclusion to the questions that you're producing. So it's right. This is obvious, right? That the thing-nothing model needs to be adapted, and that's what my triune system, my triune fundamental model of reality does. Okay. So the fundamental model of reality presented by the English language is not describing reality. It can't even describe curve, for fuck's sakes. Right? It's not even adequate to describe a curve. It's describing the illusion. Yes, it works, but it doesn't work to describe reality. It works to project the illusion that the illusion is the reality. So, while this triune, so my triune, it has to be triune system. It can't be dualistic. It doesn't work. Dualism equals turtles all the way. It doesn't matter what model you're using. It doesn't matter if you're Chris Langan, if you're Donald Hoffman, if you're Bernard Kastrup, if you're fucking Einstein. It doesn't matter because you see, it's hardwired into our psyche in the language that it doesn't even allow. So while this triune fundamental model of reality shows that materialism, which has the physical realm as fundamental reality, as false, it also shows that idealism, which has mind as fundamental, to be equally false. If idealism is the fundamental model of reality, then it should resolve the paradoxes present within currently accepted models, and it doesn't. I've never heard Bernardo explain how his model resolves any type of paradox. We're all just supposed to live with it, right? However, the fundamental model of reality resolves the how does something come from nothing paradox by revealing that nothing is an error produced by using a dualistic model. As I said twice before, such a model lacks the robustness and nuance required to express reality. This lack results in the paradox, how does something come from nothing? The fundamental model of reality does not contain the word nothing, as it has been replaced with the word potential. And something most definitely can come from potential. So that it's what I've been finding is that the resolution of paradoxes comes about from the recognition that the model that produces the paradox is incorrect. That's why it's not that the paradox needs to be fixed within the system. The paradox is showing that that model is incorrect. And this corrects it. Something can come from potential, and potential is the same as the Tao. Okay, so the other paradox, the lack of the present model, the dualistic model, to its ability to describe fundamental reality, comes out from the other paradox is how can non-existence exist? Right? Nothing, if it's non-existence, then how can it exist if it's non-existence? The fundamental model of reality says that nothing doesn't exist, right? It is the error produced by using the dualistic model. So again, this is how the paradox is resolved, is to realize that the model that is producing the paradox is incorrect. So go to my website, nonconceptuality.org, and check out the fundamental model of reality. It's in the drop down underneath the theory of enlightenment, right? So go to the theory of enlightenment, drops down, that's the fundamental model of reality. And it's the fundamental model of reality because it's set up in columns, right? There's 3 columns and there's a bunch of rows. And each one of these rows is a holographic expression of the same information. It's like you're walking down a beach and you see a 2-dimensional plate or something, or a chunk of something, a 2-dimensional shape, and you pick it up and there's an image on it. All right, it doesn't matter how jagged the shape is, the shape is, and it doesn't matter how small or big it is, there's an image in that chunk. So you find one of these on the beach and it has this triune system. All right, now imagine going hiking in the Himalayas and you find in the top of one of the mountains, you find another one of these tablets or whatever. And the holographic image is the same. The chunk that it's on, that it's being displayed on, could be a completely different size and shape, but the image is the same. And then you go to the bottom of the ocean and you find the same thing. And then you go over, wherever you go, you notice, oh, well, there's this information, this triune system, everywhere you look, it's there. So this is it. all of reality is being expressed, the whole entire functioning of reality is being expressed in 3 characters, by 3 characters. But they need to be looked at in conjunction with each other, right? If you just find one of them, the one on the shore, then it doesn't mean anything, right? It's just like, okay, well, I wonder, that's interesting. But then if you keep finding it in different locations, in different inquiries into the fundamental nature of reality, if you keep finding the same thing, then maybe you should pay attention to it. Okay, so Bernardo, your model is wrong. Because it's not really your fault, because you haven't recognized the inherent lack within the language that we all use to express the triune system. But the fundamental model of reality has tweaked that language perfectly so that it all fits now. And if you could just suspend all that brainwashing that's gone on in academia, using this incorrect model the whole time, if you can get past your belief systems and what you've been programmed to believe, then it will become just obvious. It'll just be obvious. But you'll still want to look for more complexity, right? For exactly why I said. So this is it. This is it. I'm at the point now where it's so obvious to me that if other people can't see it, then that is a clear indication that they're in delusion. Just like a cult member can't grasp the obvious shit that someone is telling them, that what they believe is totally a fantasy. It's this level, it's even deeper, right? Because the cult is all of academia. It's basically the thoughts in your head. Is the cult leader, I'm sorry. The voice in your head is the cult leader, and you don't stop and question what the cult leader is doing anymore. And that's how people get into cults, is that they stop questioning the belief systems that the cult leader is presenting to the cult. I can't make it any more clear.